as a volunteer or otherwise with Turning Point. And, the one thing that he shared, because a lot of people are kind of concerned, like, how do you replace Charlie Kirk, right? Like, well, the truth is you cannot. I mean, he's a once in a generation personality, but don't fear about the Turning Point organization, because, as our pastor shares, and he meets with these people, once a month, he says, you have no idea how strong of a leadership team runs that organization. And that organization is going to be just fine. It'll never be the same. Again, you cannot replace the Charlie Kirk, but man, there's some very strong, committed, courageous people who run that organization. And, it was nice to hear that, because I've never really, I've followed Charlie Kirk, but not like religiously. Like I've enjoyed his content, but he's not somebody that I'd listen to every single day. But I was surprised with how impacted I was by his assassination. And of course, seeing some of the people I know and care about that are just devastated, but they're more determined than ever. They might be devastated, but they're not quitting. In fact, they're going to ramp it up. And so I feel very good about the future of the organization and the impact it's going to continue to have. It's just going to take some time for it to, adjust and reconfigure. So that's all I wanted to share.
Thanks, Troy. Yeah, echoed on Charlie. Nothing but respect for him and what he's doing. Shout out to Bella. Thanks for co-hosting as well. Good morning. Thank you, Janet, again. Appreciate you all. Thanks for your patience as I'm on this drive here on a leisurely day with major news dropping, hopefully. So, Bella, I know you were in that space yesterday. If you can't talk, that's fine. I don't know when you popped in, but I was telling the folks in here my theory from yesterday about that I was telling you guys that they've had this guy in custody probably the whole time. And just got a note from Susan here. They had 70,000 tips, I guess, that came in the last 36 hours. So was it a game? Was it a bait to get the accomplices here? And I think President Trump said on Fox and Friends that this guy was turned in, his location. But President Trump did not say when he was turned in. So they could have had this guy from Jump Street, guys, from the get-go. That's the thing. We don't know. We may find out. I think it was.
And CNN is reporting. That he admitted to his father that he was the shooter. So his father called the authorities and tackled him and held him down until the authorities arrived. Good Lord.
I think Joey Pugs, who's an LEO, was in that space as well, and he kind of had the same theory that possibly the FBI was putting out the chum in the water to see if the public would bite if anybody had any tips, and it looks like they had a shit ton of them. So that's interesting in and of itself. If that's the case, this is a new FBI. This is not I know many people are disappointed in Cash and Dan because of the Epstein saga, but I would tell you this is a new day for the FBI. If they, I don't know if they're going to reveal their tradecraft here in their investigation. They probably shouldn't, but none of these things are one-offs. A lot of these tranny killers and things like that, they're not exactly one-offs. They're radicalized, and somebody is it tends to be young people. The last of these shooters, the Trump failed assassin was a young person. The tranny that shot up that school in Tennessee was a young person. Based on that picture, this person of interest is a young person. So somebody is getting to these young people and with their pliable minds doing their thing and creating a lot of mayhem and chaos here. And people are fucking dying, guys. This is serious shit. This is, as you all know, I know nobody's taking it any other way but that. Yep. Go ahead, Patrick. Go ahead.
Can
Sorry,
you hear me?
I muted. I muted.
Sorry. Yeah. I said, I think there's still a lot of obstructionists.
Sorry, man. I think that's me. Fat thumb boy over here.
I said there's a lot of obstructionists in the government within DOJ, FBI that are getting in the way, right? Hang on, I see somebody at the mic here. No, not yet. So, and they're obstructing. So all these things that we wish would happen, indictments and other things, that they're being handicapped at every turn, right? The bureaucracy, the red tape, and those that have other ambitions beyond their tenure now at the agency. And so there were some things going on in the background that so if you're upset because you're not seeing progress out of Bondi or Patel, or there's people in the way, right? There's people in the way, and it's going to take time for them to get them out of the way, right? So all the indictments, all of the information, this is the problem. Don't be mad at them. Be mad at the people that are still there, that are standing in Trump's way, in the admin's way, in the agency's way, executive office's way to push forward what needs to happen to clean this up. And, so I know there's a lot of frustration, and there's a lot of blame and a lot of finger pointing, and you can't blame the folks that he's appointed to run these agencies. It's so deep and so wide, and just know that, and make sure others understand that this is it's not their failure, right? Because of the red tape. It's not like they can just come in and fire everybody, right? Musk ran into it, and the others have too. And just know that.
Yep, agreed. Again, Cash and Dan can change the boardroom, the leadership of the FBI, and this. You guys, there's hundreds of thousands of field agents with political biases, not just in Washington D.C. at the J. Edgar Hoover building. Every state has FBI field offices, and they're feds in your state that never go to Washington D.C. that are you can't make the assumption that some of them are not partisan Democrats, and they don't care. They've been on the agency 20 years. They're going to have a job after Trump's out of office, after J.D. Vance is out of office. They're lifers, and you can't expect everybody. Okay, we got to have everybody who's an FBI agent has to be MAGA. And it's Kash Patel's responsibility to make sure all the feds are registered Republicans. It doesn't work like that, guys. They're called bureaucrats for a reason, and they will sadly outlive this administration. So you have to recalibrate your expectation. The FBI was going to be the hardest three-letter agency to basically have an exorcism. For all intents and purposes, you have to understand that. If you're not a patient person, politics should not be your thing. Full stop. All right, a lot of hands up. We're still waiting. Janet's co-host, so she can go first, and I'm going to go to Rachel, and we'll go in sequential order after that, or try to. And Patrick's going to jump in.
Yeah, one of the things that one of the things that I talk about with people to try to explain, especially a lot of the young nerds that I deal with, that they don't understand the way government works. I try to get them to watch documentaries and things like that. But the thing is, I try to show them if people don't say anything, you have to watch what they do. If you pay attention to their actions, then you're going to understand what kind of person that is. And if you have a politician that's constantly got his hands in, working, trying to make your life better in your community and in your country, then you got a person that's a go-getter, a person that's active. If you have a person that's said the same thing year after year after year, and they're not doing anything besides taking your money, well, that's the person you need to get rid of. So that's what we have right now. We have a Congress that hasn't even appointed all of Trump's judges. So I'm not too eager to push these people out and have them go to one of these courts. They're corrupt. So we have to be a little patient. It hasn't even been 1 year since Trump's been in there. We have to give them and his new team the time to swim through the sharks and the swamps of the alligators and clean the place up enough to where we can start prosecuting people. So just be patient, people, if you can do that. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Yeah. It's hard for Mac to be patient, isn't it? We are not patient people by nature. So I hear you. Rachel Rotterloo, go ahead.
Hi there. I just saw on Fox News that they said they arrested him last night at 11 o'clock, a minister and a father. So I don't know. That's by the pictures of the guy, that looks like that could happen. He didn't look like he was some kind of, I don't know, like international sort of person, but who knows about that, right? But it kind of like to what Janet was saying too, like it really is a problem that I think too that like in society we're just like spreading all the hate. As you know, I'm from Canada and I'm immigrating to the US. I'm almost done. But the stuff that's going on in Canada about Charlie Kirk and what people are saying is just appalling. And on the mainstream CBC, they're backing it up by having people in that are speaking like pure hate, and these people are supposed to be anti-hate. So I think moving forward in society, that's what we have to do is like start to try to not speak so much hate, but then it's hard because the stuff that's being said on the left, and it's hard not to make it a left and a right thing when you see what's happening on the streets all over the world, like with all these ongoing protests and stuff. So I don't know. I just thought Charlie Kirk was a great guy. The way he talked, he always brought people in. He spoke with absolute intelligence. And for anybody to say otherwise, that like they're making up the lie that he wanted all trans people dead, is an absolute lie. He never said that. So the lying has to stop too. And I don't know how we fix that. Thanks, Gats. That's all I have to say.
No, no worries. Thanks for waiting. Yeah, exactly. And here's one thing, Rachel, and everybody else that I've noticed in the media the last 2 days is that, and this isn't news for anybody in here, but I'll just like dot the I's and cross the T's on it. The left globally is a death cult, because of how immoral they are and dishonest they are in reporting. And again, they're just like, well, Charlie Kirk had it coming because of the rhetoric on the right. And, when you're an advocate for the Second Amendment in the United States, you get, I mean, this is just some vile crap. And I've seen news anchors from Europe, from Latin America, from Canada, all on the left, and they're just no big deal. Fuck, they're basically saying in whatever language they speak, these disgusting journalists, Charlie Kirk fucked around and found out. These people have no soul, guys. And to the bigger point here, no pun intended with Charlie, because his organization was called Turning Point. But this is the turning point for our country. I think if there is any good that comes out of this, it's that the left cannot just say that a guy like me is a Nazi and a white supremacist, which I find incredibly amusing because one of my grandmothers was brown. So that's because my skin is white doesn't mean I'm fucking Scottish. So I don't know where these people are getting that from. They know nothing about me to say that. So you've got that situation. You've got also, they're not going to believe that Trump's a dictator. People cannot say that Trump is a dictator, and the normies and the apolitical people that we're trying to convince to get involved, they're just not going to accept that anymore from the left, guys. That is
Well,
the one good thing out of all of this.
can I add to that too? What they did by shooting Charlie Kirk is pure fascism, right? So it's like you can't. That's the hypocrisy of it all. They say one thing and then they do another thing that's violent and so hateful and fascist. And I think us on the right, we're like, can we just get rid of the word fascism? Like, because
It's meaningless. It's
yes,
meaningless now.
exactly. Yes, and all the ists and the phobes, and then you have governments like in Canada where they want to arrest people, in the UK and stuff, and it's like these governments need to be overhauled and being like, you people clearly don't know what you're doing because you're just ratcheting it up with trying to silence people for having an opinion. Like I do blame government too, and I mean, in Canada, the CBC is funded by the Liberal government. So how the hell are you going to get any kind of like non-biased propagandist kind of opinion? You're going to. It's the breeding ground for it. Sorry, I just had to say that. It just annoys me to no end.
It's the same thing with CNN down here. MSN. running cover for the the situation. So thanks, Phil. I think Chris was next. Guys, sorry if we go out of order. I'm driving here. The co-host, it's early where they are. They're just trying to keep the Wi-Fi signal righteous for me. So I got time. If you're patient, I'm patient. So we'll get to everybody. Chris, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. And too bad that space wasn't recorded yesterday and it was only like 9-10 people, and it was very informational about everything too, with the gun, with the bullets and all that. It's just good space. And Gads, I definitely did not think that this suspect was going to be alive, and that is a good sign, in my opinion, of where this DOJ is actually going. It's what the last two people that tried to, the one with the golf course, they caught him, and he's gonna see and get what he deserves. And this other guy, I think, is gonna get the same thing. So I think we're pointed in the right direction. I think that the media is getting exposed, and I think everyone in here probably believes the same thing, but I'm seeing it with the normal people. We caught the suspect, we didn't catch the suspect, we did this, we did that, like all the stuff that came out from the media. It's showing that how inept they are, like where they cannot actually prove that what they're actually saying is actually true. So I think there's just so much going on. And if you do hear the word rhetoric, that those people are definitely on the wrong side of history, in my opinion. I think that's the word that they are using, and they are definitely pushing it. And it's just sad that shot, assassinated, and they can't even call a fucking spade a spade. But thank you for the mic, and thanks for your space, and just let's keep trucking, I guess.
Yeah, man, Chris, I was just saying that we just had, it was a nice mini conversation without a lot of interruption, and a lot of good stuff. A lot of good theories were being dropped, and it seems like they might be proving true. Not just mine, but Joe's was a good one, and a few of you others had good comments. But just really quickly,
There was
before I go
definitely, definitely.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good. Before ML, I just want to say, if you're disappointed in Cash Patel and Dan Bongino's leadership at the FBI over Epstein, which to me is making you a bit of a small person, in my opinion, shallow, to be honest. What was the one thing that Cash Patel said from his confirmation hearing to when he took his oath of office? I am going to let cops be cops. And if you're, that the Epstein thing notwithstanding, the lack of transparency in your mind, not mine, the situation is as follows. It takes police work and investigation to pull off what they did yesterday, when evidently this shitbag was arrested at 11 p.m. Eastern, evidently. Okay. We're going to get some clarification on that. But that's police work. And Chris, you were in there. But what did Joe said? That the FBI is they're not really like. What's the best way of putting it?
They come in
on
and
the
fuck
ground.
everything up. They come in and they fuck everything up.
Yes.
Basically,
Yes.
what you see in the movies is kind of what I brought up there. What you see in the movies, it happens. The FBI always comes, and they're always the crooked, person. It's exactly what he said. He goes, they come in and they don't investigate the way that it's investigated. They all talk about what they think has happened instead of going out and investigating and finding out what happened. Sorry to cut you off.
That's okay. No, it's important because I couldn't articulate it. Guys, look at the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013. I was living in Boston at the time, okay? I had a young family at the time. I was living there. I can tell you, the minute that Mayor Tom Menino and Ed Davis, the Boston police chief, handed it off to the FBI, everything with the Sarnaev brothers got all fucked up. Everything. We had less information when the feds got involved than when the post-bombing manhunt began. So food for thought. Thank you, Chris. ML, go ahead. Then we'll go to Cuervo, I think, after.
Gads, my son, brother, thank you for bringing me in here. I really appreciate the invitation. I know you wanted me to come in here, so here I am. Hello, Bella, Janet, everyone. So many nice people in here. I look down here. Holy smokes! I'm following so many people in here. Great.
Yeah, lots of good looking people, ML. That's what's important.
Oh man, this is such a great little group here. Thank you so much, Gadsden. I arrived home yesterday after 5,000 miles of summer travel. I arrived home on the 10th and early, and I had a day of unpacking and cleaning up. And I thought, whoa, that was a good day. And then just as I was at my time when I was going to sleep, I saw this first post on Charlie Kirk. And I thought, well, I don't even recognize this person. Is this real? And I went to look at the trending tweets, and it wasn't trending. And I thought, oh, I don't know if I believe this. But then checked 10 minutes later. Long story short, I didn't get any sleep at all. And then, of course, the next day is 9/11, right? It's just like, wow, this week turned out to suck really bad. But you know what? I just want to relay a new tweet from Benny Johnson. It came out 48 minutes ago. It's from this Fox interview with Trump. It says, breaking news, President Trump says he will launch an investigation into George Soros over financing violent left-wing groups. I'm thinking it is a great idea to go after the money. Look at what good it did to go after the USAID money. You cut off the money, you cut off a lot of this crap. And so I want your comment on whether you think indirectly or directly some Soros funding went towards this son of a bitch who's going to get executed now, who was caught. So it's very interesting. It's great. I think the Trump administration should go after, cut off all the heads of all the snakes, everyone providing funding for nefarious crap, including Bill Gates, George Soros. I guess Schwab is retired now, but whoever the new leader of the WEF, go after the heads of the people who promote and fund this shit. So I think it's great. I love this post from Benny. I can repost it if you want. This is a quote from President Trump. We're going to look into Soros because I think it's a RICO case against him and other people because it's more than protests. It's real agitation. It's riots in the streets, unquote. I think it's great. So anyway, good morning to everyone. Hope you have a great Friday.
You too. Welcome back, ML. And I thank you for that. That's an important, kind of byproduct of what's going on that President Trump's talking about the RICO case against, it's mostly his son, Alex Soros in New York, who is, I think, running the operation, quote unquote. But that is a good point. You stop the money. That's how you cut the head off of the snake. And if you don't have any fit in RICO cases, guys, this is how Rudy Giuliani basically brought law and order in part to New York City in the early 1990s during his first tenure as mayor, his first 4-year term. So there was stop and frisk. He used all sorts of police work, but also RICO cases. Yeah.
I just want to say a quick thing and then I'll step down, but I hope it's not too terrible to say that this young guy, whoever's guilty of this shooting of Charlie Kirk, firing squad is a method of capital punishment in Utah. And I think a lot of us would like to see that live streamed. I want to see the bullet go through this kid's neck. Just as
ML,
unfortunately had to.
AML, that's only if they don't have the lethal injection. If they don't have enough of the lethal injection, then they can go to the firing squad.
I know, but I'm saying I want to see the firing squad. I just want to see it live streamed. Sorry if that upsets some people, but that's what I'm thinking. So thank you, Gads.
And guys, just so you know, the fact that the DOJ interceded in this case immediately, this guy or whomever has been guilty of this crime, they are not going to spend years appealing this case. This is not going to be like, or it's not going to be like the Tsarnaev brothers, well, the one that lived, because that was left-wing Massachusetts. They're going to pursue the death penalty. I mean, you've already got the governor of Utah getting ahead of it. And many of you don't want to glorify capital punishment, but I have to tell you, friends, don't know what options we have left if this person of interest is found guilty. I don't think after all that's said, this guy is not going to spend life in prison. He's dealing this for years at a time. This is going to go quick. We have to. This is part of the initiative. You can't do this, guys. This would be like, again, this is on par with MLK being assassinated in 1968. Now, unfortunately, there were some extenuating circumstances with a civil rights leader and a black guy that half of the country in the southern states did not care for. So there was going to be no push for capital punishment of his shooter. So same thing with whoever shot Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy Sr., who not given the death penalty because I think he was killed in New York in 1968. 1968 was a terrible year, guys. Terrible year for the country. It was the fever pitch of the Vietnam War. It was, this Charlie Kirk is the most high-profile assassination. Now, we're not talking about attempted assassinations, which are bad enough, like Trump in last year and then Reagan in 1981. This is different. This was a cold-blooded murder in front of thousands of people to a political activist. That's why I compare him to MLK. That's the impact he's having on U.S. That's the impact 31-year-old Charlie Kirk has had on his this country's political body politic, so to speak. Okay, Cuervo, you're up.
Yeah, hey man, it's been a minute. Thanks for having me up. As you know, I always try to take notes, keep my thoughts together. But couple things that you guys were talking about here. Who's getting to these kids? I've long been suspicious of gaming systems, right? So these kids going to these gaming sites, they're playing like Battlefield or whatever, and there's all these chats that are occurring. And I think that's how, nefarious characters are grooming kids into doing something beyond, just a video game. That's just my opinion, but until somebody actually looks into that, you're looking at like Twitch platforms and that kind of stuff. Think somebody should. We're talking about obstructionists and why are we feeling so impatient. Let's remember that you had how many hundreds of Obama loyalists that were put on the bench, and in the last administration, some 250 appointees that were also by Democrat loyalists. Do you really think that if a case gets in front of them that they're going to adjudicate it based on the Constitution, or are they going to base it based on their political alignments, right? So until the judiciary, until all these activist judges get replaced, we have to slow walk some of these cases to get them in front of judges that aren't just going to kick out the case, right? So keep that in mind as we're getting frustrated with lack of action. I want to say this too, because this doesn't get talked enough about. Signature reduction. Remember that there is $1 billion a year funding the federal government to pay for social media activity behind fake personas online. Okay, they're going out and they're probably in X Spaces, they're probably on Facebook, they're probably on any social media platform. The government is actively creating false personas online so that they can essentially shift the public narrative on certain things like this. I question everything. I'm actually even questioning who this shooter supposedly is. Okay. There's things that aren't adding up for me. Number one is if the if the father turned in his son, did he get the $100,000 reward? So did we just pay off the kid?
1 million.
You know what I mean?
Bill Ackman's putting up 1 million. The philanthropist guy from New York, Bill Ackman,
Yeah,
He's
for the
offering 1 million.
for the arrest. Okay, so 1 million. Did we pay off the shooter's father? Right? That's crazy to me. I don't know. And I'm just going to land it on this one. Two things actually. Where was our intel agencies? You mentioned MLK, which is great. It's a great segue. We had active intel agencies embedded in these movements. You know, every one of them. We were gathering intel. So where was our intel agencies at this event? This was a movement, the MAGA movement, the Charlie Kirk TPUSA movement. Did we have any resources there? I want to know, because they've been part of every other activist movement in the history of our government. Okay, so I want to know where they were, who was there, and I think we should be asking that question. And then one last thing is the funding of leftists, right? I like the idea of targeting the money, but we're not targeting all the money, right? Soros is just one arm. Look at all the money that's flowing through into the Democratic Party from companies that actively make their money from China, a communist country that hates us. So in we got to get more organized in this. Um, I just think that the money is as ML said, is the root of all this evil, but it's not just George Soros. It's where does all the money flow in through into the Democratic Party? And for all these assholes that keep saying, well, we're against the oligarchy. The Democrat Party is the oligarchy. They control all the money. They control all the media. They gaslight with impunity, and they're never held accountable for it. And the point I'm going to land on here is that 90% of all money that goes into political cycles goes into the Democratic Party machine. So when they say that, oh, they're against the oligarchy, they're hypocrites and liars, because they are the oligarchy. I'll land it there.
Thank you, Cuervo. Welcome back. Once they identify the suspect and we get positive confirmation, if he confesses to it, blah blah blah, and the money is investigated, I'm going to recalibrate my opinion on certain things. I need to know that, as I think as we all do. But come to whatever conclusion you want. I do believe, guys, wholeheartedly, that, and again, I hate to, this is terrible because it's Charlie's organization. This was a turning point for our country. Sadly, that's what it took. A lot of you have brought up appropriately the mainstream media. Cuervo just did a great he just bodied the media that they gaslight with impunity. Again, I was having this convo with Rachel a little while ago, one of the previous speakers. This is the only positive we're going to get out of this, is that I do believe, and you're seeing it because MSLSD had to fire that fuckface Matthew Dowd on the spot, basically. The normies that we get fucking gray hairs over because they're not engaged in politics, and they hold back this country because they just can't be bothered, or we have to explain to them about the pandemic, or we have to explain to them that Trump is not a fascist and that you're not a Nazi. I think that these like The View and all this propaganda on major cable news networks, it's not just the news networks, it's also the quote unquote daytime programming like The View, that it's done, it's over. Republican people, even if you don't like them, are not Nazis. Trump is not a dictator. The terms have become utterly meaningless in the English lexicon of the United States. That is a good thing, guys, because words have a lot of power and they're weighted in authority. And when you have some impressive person, in a normie's mind, impressive person like Rachel Maddow, or somebody who's got a high profile cable news show at night who's on the left, when they're calling MAGA fascists or they're calling Trump the reincarnation of Hitler, we get disgusted by it, obviously, but the normies are going to be like, okay, this is bullshit. The guy's not I don't like him. He's a bloviator. He's rash. He's not cultured enough for me, but the guy is not a fascist. And the guy who's hanging my drywall in my vacation home, who's got a MAGA hat and a plaid shirt on, he's not a Nazi. I might think he's politically misguided, but he's not hurting anybody with his political views. That is a very major step for this country, guys, in the propaganda war. Okay? Did you know that Matthew Dowd guy initially thought that the gunshot, before they got clarification that Charlie was even shot, he thought it was some redneck Utah Mormon firing a gun off at the rally in celebration of Charlie Kirk taking the stage, like a celebratory shot in the air. You know, like we're cowboys in the old. That's how stupid these people, and evil, stupidity and evil. Okay, so this is the one good thing we can get out of this assassination of pretty much the main conservative. I hate using the term conservative. The main populist thought leader in the world. Okay. Let me pause it there. Janet, you're a co-host. You can go, then we'll go back to Chris, aka Mark Chase. So
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what you were saying. You have to remember, these people are damaged. A lot of these people have mutilated themselves. They've given up their identities. They still wear masks when they're walking through the park by themselves. These people are damaged. They're mentally unstable. And we have to find a way to deal with these people because they're going to be coming out of the woodwork like rats and roaches. And all of us, have to start paying attention to what's going on around us. It's not just going to happen in Chicago or New York City anymore. This is going to happen on our college campuses. We had another shooting at a naval base. I mean, we have to start being a little more attentive and paying attention to what's going on around us. Plus, we have to realize it's going to be harder for people to hide a lot of this stuff anymore because there were people live streaming with their cell phones onto their little channels on Rumble, on Kick, on YouTube, and all that stuff, and Discord live, things like that, from Charlie Kirk. So that's another reason why I got out so fast. And there was so many pictures from so many different angles of what happened, and people screaming and running, and the chaos that ensued. But the thing is that the people that are using, the young people, are using it through Discord, through Gilded, through Kick, through Xbox, through Twitch, through Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. I mean, there are so many openings, and we have to realize that
Janet, I'm sorry, 1 second. Is anybody hearing feedback from Janet's audio, or is it just me?
I am not.
Okay, it's just me. Sorry, Janet. Continue.
It's okay. But the thing is, we have to realize that I do believe that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, especially since he has been a streamer, he understands that what goes on behind the scenes when it comes to streaming. Just like I said, I mentor a lot of young people right out of high school to get off their ass, out of their parents' basement, and go out and get jobs and start being healthy and things like that in my Discord. But a lot of other people do nefarious things in these apps. And if you see something, you need to speak out. That's why I'm so proud of this administration putting these websites saying, please, if you feel that something's going on, send us this stuff. And a lot of people that have sent things, because I have 2 young people that have been doing stuff with Discord and Gilded for these nasty pedophiles and stuff, have been contacted. So if they are being contacted and they're just little young people that don't even have jobs, basically, then that means that these people mean business. They are trying to go through all this information, but we have so much corruption. And the only way we're going to win is when we all help. We all try to do our part. We all try to make sure that truth and facts are being shared, and to not jump on the bandwagon just because somebody said it was this group or somebody said that we got to try to get as much of the information and realize that these people are being paid. People are funding them. A young teenager can't just go out and buy a whole giant box of ammo. It's expensive. They can't just go to the places and shoot the guns. They have to learn stuff, and it has to be paid for. That's what I want people to understand. But thank you, and hopefully we're going to kick ass and take names with this new administration.
So, to build on that, everybody, a lot of people have expressed lack of confidence in Kash Patel because he was a lawyer. He was never a cop or anything like that, and he's the head of the FBI. Okay, who do the most important, on paper, the most important investigations in the country. Okay, so Dan Bongino was a New York cop. Okay, he was in the not the NYPD. I think he was a cop in Queens. He's from the same borough that Trump is from. And he was a Secret Service agent who guarded Obama and Bush Jr. So, and he's the deputy director. So I'm not too worried about the boots on the ground crime fighting. I think Kash Patel has enough support with Bongino alone about, investigations on the ground and collection of evidence. So you're going to hear a lot of people saying, well, Kash Patel was never a cop or an FBI, he never had a badge before. Don't take that and run with it like it's such a deficit. Sometimes you need a fresh set of eyes. One thing he might not be a cop, but he's insanely bright. Okay, and for what it's worth, a lot of our ex-FBI directors, like Comey and Wray, were Wray, I think, was the Attorney General of New Jersey he was a lawyer, never a cop. Comey was a bureaucrat lawyer. Not that those are standards you want to reach for, but most of our guys, J. Edgar Hoover, who founded the FBI, a very nefarious individual with a disturbing private life, he was never a cop either, and he founded the organization. So not all FBI directors started as town cops and state troopers, and they became feds, and that's very, very rare. Most of them are just administrators, guys. So don't get obsessed about the fact that he never arrested anybody. That's I don't know how relevant that is. He's not the one going out doing raids, and he shouldn't. He's the director of the FBI. He's not a field agent. So because I heard a lot of people flying off the handle about that yesterday, that he doesn't have expertise in forensics or any. Guys, he's smart enough to put people around him who do. So don't worry about that. Don't obsess about the details that are ultimately not relevant, because they're not. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that it's kind of like the comment you made, that they kind of went after this suspect kind of the way they went after. Sorry, there's some music in the background, but they went after this the way they kind of went after the Boston bomber, the Boston Marathon bomber. How you made a comment that they kind of let him go out to. You felt, I don't know if that's exactly what they did, but it definitely seems like they went about it the same way. And Trump actually did bring up the Boston bomber and saying how the parents turned him in. So I don't know if that's kind of a red flag that they brought that up.
We
or
are
if that's
4
a good
minutes
thing.
out from starting the press conference. Thank you.
So 4 minutes, guys. So Chris, let me just mention to you about there were two brothers. One of them died when they were chased down by the Watertown Police Department. You saw the movie Patriot Day with Mark Wahlberg. That's exactly how it went down.
You were saying about the Asian guy or whatever, right? Explain or whatever. That one.
So they kidnapped a college, an MIT college student, I believe, and they were on the run for 36 hours. Now but the main thing why I brought that up, Chris, is because the Sarnea brothers the FBI knew that they were radicalized into some crazy form of Islam. They were on the watch list for a very, very long time. And it's crazy. Like there were a lot of dead ends at first. And when the feds came in, it's like they let the guys cause mayhem for a day and a half before they were captured, when it couldn't have been anybody else in the vicinity. So that's the comparison. That was intentional. That's my belief. This was not intentional. What went on? Yeah, Patrick, go ahead.
Hey, Gads, how did that sound? Did it sound okay?
Actually, very clear. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So
And
we'll
then
go
one
with
more
that.
quick thing I
We'll
wanted to
go with
ask
that.
ML, if ML saw that about the Soros stuff. I saw a post, I think it was by Shadow of Ezra or whatever, but did he say that on Fox and Friends? Because I think there was a little cut with that as well. I don't know if you're there, MS or ML. Guess not, but no, I thought I saw it. So
Yeah.
it would be good for him to say that on TV in front of the world, all the normies
The,
to see.
the Soros stuff you said, Chris?
Yeah, I thought because
did.
there's a
Did
post,
say
so
that.
he did. Okay, awesome. No, I
Yeah,
just feel that's like he needs to get that out, and I think what you were making the comment about the media kind of crumbling. I think this is really. I mean, it's starting to open a lot of people's eyes. I mean, it's happened so many times, and I bring it up to the people, and they're like, "Well, this happened." I go, "Well, remember like this last shooting, the same stuff happened, so it's bringing up just a lot of suspicion from people that never had suspicion before."
Yeah, well, like I said, ultimately, I don't think people are believing the fascist thing anymore. Um, and leftists know this, guys. Charlie Kirk never did anything to anybody. Okay, he never harmed a soul in his life. Think of all the times he's been in close contact with these college radicals. There's no fist fight, no bullshit breaking out. You can't make the argument that the guy had it coming, because he was debating people essentially his age. He was his peer group. He's 31 and he's talking to 21-year-olds that are very entitled. He never hurt anybody. That's the thing. So the normies are not going to believe that this guy was a threat, because most of them don't even know who he is. Now, remember the comparison I made to the 90s? Everybody knew who Rush Limbaugh was in the 90s. And he was the in the post-Reagan era, the right-wing thought leader in the world. He had the biggest radio show on the AM band in the world. Everybody knew who he was. They either loved him or hated him. Most people don't know who Charlie Kirk is. So when they see an unassuming guy get shot in the neck and bleed out in front of everybody, they're going to say, I've seen a few clips of Charlie Kirk. Even if you're a liberal, you could say to yourself, I don't agree with anything he's saying. I'm not down with his born again Christianism, but this guy is not a Nazi. I don't see Nazi here. I see just a very misguided person in their mind, but not somebody who's a threat. So that's the silver lining, friends. That's going to be huge. That this is indeed, no pun intended, a turning point for the country. I think people are just not going to believe, as Cuervo likes to say, the gaslighting with impunity and the propaganda that's going out, because the circle doesn't square. It doesn't match. The description of Charlie Kirk that MSLSD and everybody else tried to put out the last 2 days does not fit the man. And they are not succeeding in rewriting his history. And we're not going to let them get away with it. Okay? We have to make a promise to ourselves that we will, whether you like them or not, recognize the impact of his legacy and not let these people lie about him. Like, full stop, they're lying about Charlie Kirk and who he was as a person and what his initiatives were. Like Stephen King, the fucking demon author. I'm sorry I read any of his books growing up, saying that he threatened to stone trannies to death or gays to death, like uh, the people did to heretics in the time of Jesus. This is fucking insane. I hope he's sued for. I hope his wife, his widow, sues Stephen King for $50 million for defamation. There's no evidence of that. Zero. Like the public is getting sick of this, guys, because even people who don't like Trump, they just want this 4 years to be over and move on and get him out of their life permanently. That's what they want. They're trying to, for them who don't agree with us, they're trying to get through these 4 years as with the least amount of pain possible. And even they're recognizing that I don't like MAGA. I don't like these people, these blue collar people or as Victor Davis Hanson calls us, those of us that work in the trades like yours truly, he calls us the muscular class, similar to plebs in Rome, I think, during the Roman Empire. He calls us the muscular class. We're very useful members of society because our jobs can't be replaced by AI. And liberals understand that they need us more than we need them. And they don't want to alienate us politically. They just want to get to 2028 and be done with Trump. And this isn't helping. This is getting more people that are apolitical to not, be on the sideline anymore and participate in the political process that, our forefathers set up for us and the founding fathers set up for us. And they see it as hurting the future of the Democrat Party. The same Democrat Party is going to lose everything because of the radical left. They will lose everything. Make no mistake, friends. About 100,000 Democrats have become Republicans per day, probably in this country over the last 2 days, if not more. They're fed up because the bullets are only coming in one direction. The bullets are coming left to right, if you follow me. There's nothing reciprocal going on, and there shouldn't be, because that's terrorism and acts of violence. And that being said, I'll leave it here and go to the next hand. I'm saying all of this. You need to protect yourself, but you need to look at the big picture. And the big picture is a peaceful and productive life. Okay? So I will disagree with people that are saying, that are trying to weaponize your vulnerability right now on the right. And there are agitators on the right who are looking for an excuse to create equal opportunities of chaos on the left. Okay? And somebody taking out a high profile leftist, guys, is a regression. There's no eye for an eye. Anybody who's quoting the Bible on this is a phony Christian. There's no excuse for that. But that being said, if this
Knock, knock. May I come in?
If this guy is the actual shooter and he's found guilty, we're going to I'm for capital punishment here, because Utah allows it and the federal government is pursuing it. So, okay, so I hope you understand where I stand on all of this. Don't let feeble-minded conservatives tell you that it's time that we went on offense and started doing stuff to left-wing people. No, because not all left-wing people caused this. This fucking insane lunatic caused it and his sleeper cell group. We deal with them to the fullest extent of the law. That's not turning the other cheek. That's not being a MAGA pussy. Okay? You have to be able to elevate your intelligence here, guys, and know what is righteous and what is stupid. Okay? Two very different things. Patrick, how does it look like the press conference is coming up soon, or no?
A few minutes.
A few minutes, Bella? Okay. Feel free to interrupt.
The podium,
So
and we are going to get this information that now we have been waiting for about an hour for. So, officials moving towards the podium. There is Kash Patel, the director of the FBI. So I believe, Wolf, I should get out of the way and we should see what these officials have to say.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At today's press conference, we will hear from Governor Cox, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Sheriff Mike Smith. We also have with us Utah DPS Commissioner Bo Mason, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, FBI Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, and local and federal law enforcement partners. Following the remarks today, Governor Cox, Director Patel, and Commissioner Mason will take questions. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. I know there has been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I will share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this?" ? Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" ! Catch! Up arrow symbol, right arrow and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow," and a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who's worked seamlessly together, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount of time to find this person and to bring justice. I want to thank the public who has been so engaged, reviewing videos, helping us with sending in tips, and helping us get to this point. I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into to law enforcement as well. I especially want to thank the family of Charlie Kirk, Erica, Charlie's parents, his children. I want us to be thinking of them as we bring justice in this case. They will be involved in that justice. We will be working very closely with them as we move through this process as well. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah. But I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history. With that, I will now turn the microphone over to the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. The FBI and our partners are proud to stand here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump, the Vice President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive with both resources and just personally to the FBI as a team. They had our backs the entire way, and I just want to express my gratitude for giving us the resources we need to operate in this space to bring this sort of justice at this sort of speed. In 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie. Governor Cox, our partnership has been absolutely incredible these last few days. Our partnership will endure. Your state and local partners, your sheriffs, your DPS community has been unbelievably impressive in the hardest of times. And a case like this cannot be solved, cannot be brought without partnering with your state and local authorities. The FBI has a certain role to play, and we will play that role, and we will lead out for the federal government. But Governor Cox, we are so grateful for your state partnership that led out on this investigation. A little bit of the timeline. Charlie was shot at 12:23 p.m. on Wednesday. The first FBI agents arrived on scene in 16 minutes with chiefs of police at 12:39 and secured the scene. The FBI immediately launched fixed-wing assets. We utilized these assets to transport personnel, specialty technicians, hostage rescue teams. We also utilize these assets to go back and forth from the East Coast and here in Utah to transport forensic evidence and other evidence that will be analyzed and is being analyzed at our FBI laboratories in Quantico and other laboratories, including the ATF. At my direction, the FBI released the first set of FBI photos of the suspect at 10 a.m. local time on 9/11. Then, shortly thereafter, the FBI reward of $100,000 was released at 10:45 a.m. local. Myself and Deputy Director Bongino arrived on scene at approximately 5:30 p.m. on 9/11. The governor led a press conference last night at approximately 8 p.m., where at my direction, the FBI released a never-before-seen video of the suspect. We also released new images to the public of the suspect. And just last night, the suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said. This would not have been possible without you, the media, and you, the public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency. The crime scene, just a little bit there. It is a large crime scene. State and local authorities, along with federal authorities, processed that crime scene quickly. And I even had the ability to walk through that crime scene and walk through the steps the suspect took to learn more about what was needed and what resources we needed to bear to create a full picture for the FBI and leadership back in Washington. Furthermore, thankfully to state and local partners, forensic evidence has been seized and continues to be garnered. Forensic evidence has already been evaluated at FBI laboratories in Quantico and state and local authorities here. We will continue to process evidence as we see it, as we collect it, and we will continue to deliver to Governor Cox and his team. Last night, we had a total of approximately 7,000 leads. As of this morning, thanks to your great work, we have over 11,000 leads that were called in to the FBI, and we are running out every single lead that we can. Every one of those leads will be run out. The arrest is a testament to the dedication of good law enforcement being great and partnerships in law enforcement, which I've tried to highlight as my tenure as the director of the FBI. There is no better relationship for law enforcement than the FBI to partner with state and local authorities, and you've seen it here in these last few days. The FBI Salt Lake field office, along with our offices in LA, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, our headquarters component in Quantico, all participate in the FBI. I want to express my deep gratitude to the employees of the FBI, the men and women, the evidence response team tacticians, the special operators, the agents, the support staff. You have done monumental work in historic time when the public, who had a right to demand such an expeditious solving of an investigation, the FBI answered that call diligently, critically important to our nation, and we delivered. And I'm proud to be their leader, and I'm proud to be the director of the FBI. This is a very much an ongoing investigation, as the governor said, and we will continue to work with state and local authorities to develop the investigation, to provide them the evidence they need for their ongoing prosecutions. And we will be here to answer every call they absolutely have, as long as it takes, for as long as we need to find and apprehend whatever suspects were involved in this crime. Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Thank
Patrick,
you.
I think we can
And
cut it
good
there.
morning.
I think
I would
we
just
can
like
cut
to
it
take
there. Thanks, but much appreciated you doing that, Patrick. That was awesome. We got the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, Republican, FBI Director Kash Patel. Great way to end it. I'll see you in Valhalla, bro. I mean, again, I can't emphasize this enough. Charlie Kirk was essentially part of the Trump administration, even though he had his own independent political organization. He was very close. You know, he's 31, so he was kind of like I think Don Jr. and JD Vance, who are in their 40s. Well, I think Don Jr. might be in his early 50s now, but he said something to the effect of, "We looked at him like a little brother." For those of you who need some context before I go back to the hands, and we could talk about what Governor Cox and Kash Patel talked um, about Tyler Robinson, the suspect in custody. Charlie Kirk moved to Arizona in the last 3 years, and Turning Point USA has basically taken over that state. They were a major reason that Trump won the state of Arizona, who some would say was the most consequential electoral college state in the, besides Pennsylvania, and I think that's accurate. Um, Charlie Kirk righted the wrong of Biden stealing the election in 2020. For those of you who need a refresher, the first state that got stolen with fraudulent ballots and all that was the state of Arizona, was Maricopa County. Remember how we talked about that endlessly for like 2 years on this app, myself included, and there was a good reason for that. That was the start of this mess called 2021 to 2024 that we just lived through. And Charlie Kirk said, "I'm going to move there with my family. I'm going to bring Turning Point there." They had Scott Pressler took care of Pennsylvania, the eastern flank. Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA took care of Arizona, the western flank, the two most critical swing states. And through an incredible amount of hard work, made sure that the Democrats could not steal the state of Arizona. Very important. So I'll leave it at that. We'll go to Bella. Bella, thanks for all your posting too. You're doing much
Hey, good.
appreciated.
You're welcome. It's early. Good morning. I just put in the purple pill something that when I was listening to the press conference, it sounded like that they said that it started maybe on Discord, which is what we were talking about earlier about like games and things like that. I think Cuervo was the one that brought it up. And I'm just going to read what Melania put when it came to the Minnesota tragic incident. The tragic mass killing in Minnesota illuminates the need for preemptive intervention in identifying potential school shooters. Early warning signs are often evident, with many individuals exhibiting concerning behaviors and making violent threats online prior to their actions. To prevent future tragedies, it is crucial we look into behavioral threat assessments across all levels of society, beginning in our homes, extending through school districts, and of course, social media platforms. Being aware of these warning signs and acting quickly can save lives and make American communities safer.
Every life taken is a child of God who deserves our love and respect and dignity. This is certainly about the tragic death, political assassination of Charlie Kirk. But it is also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on the American experiment. It is an attack on our ideals. This cuts to the very foundation of who we are, of who we have been, and who we could be in better times. Political violence is different than any other type of violence for lots of different reasons. One, because in the very act that Charlie championed of expression, that freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act, makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas, that they can speak freely. We will never be able to solve all the other problems, including the violence problems that people are worried about, if we can't have a clash of ideas safely and securely. Even especially those ideas with which you disagree. That's why this matters so much. Over the last 48 hours, I have been as angry
Patrick,
as I have ever
why
been.
don't we pause that here? Why don't we pause it here so we can get some hands in that have been waiting? If it gets juicy, we can pop in again. We're going to go till about 11 o'clock. All right, guys, it's 10:22 Eastern my time. And I could probably stay off work till about 11 o'clock. So appreciate everybody's patience. And Patrick, thanks for doing what you're doing. Bella and Janet, thank you for co-hosting. Janet, why don't you go ahead? Guys, grab a mic. Now is the time. We're in the fourth quarter of this space. So grab a mic, and if you have a mic, put your hand up so we can hear your commentary, particularly in reaction to what Governor Cox and Director Patel talked about. They took him alive, which is very important. Go ahead, Janet.
Okay, I was just going to jump in. Bella had mentioned Discord. Yes, I brought that up earlier. I've been on Discord since 2016, and a lot of the things that I do is to try to help young people not be taken in by pedophiles. I don't know if that I know that sounds weird, but that's one of the things that you've been seeing happening with Gilded and with Roblox. So that's one of the reasons why I'm on there. But the thing is that they are using that to get people to do things that they normally wouldn't do. And you can also send money through PayPal and other ways to get money to people who need it or whatever, or want it to do certain things for certain people. So we need more people to pay attention to what's going on, and don't just hand your cell phone, your iPad, or anything else to a kid and let them just go on there and not know what you're letting your kids on. 100%. You have got to know what your kids are doing. There's nothing wrong with being a parent. A parent is a person who teaches your children right from wrong and helps them so that when they are an adult, they can live amongst other people and socialize, keep a job, take care of themselves, take care of their pet, whatever their responsibilities are. But what we're doing is churning out a bunch of kids who have done nothing but play on video games. They don't expect to ever get a job, and they use Uber Eats or whatever else, and it's all paid for by us or their parents. And they never feel like they have to do anything because they're never told no. And it's going to take us a while to fix this. Okay, I don't think people understand how bad off we really are. It may only be 1% or 2% of the population, but it doesn't matter. All you got to do is look at the cities and look who's causing all the problems. So anyone can do that, but we need to pray more, whether it's to God or another God or be a Wiccan or whatever. I have lots of friends of many different cultures, and I don't have a problem with that. But every person that I know that is spiritual don't do these kinds of crimes. I can tell you that right now. So that's all I wanted to add. And we just need to keep doing what we're doing right now and sharing information and helping people find answers. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Somebody else had a hand up, I think, or was I seeing? Are my eyes playing tricks on me?
Hand and Ron Turlew, his hand is up.
Okay. So Bella, if you want to continue, go right ahead, and we'll go. If not, we'll go to the next speaker. No, okay. All right. Rachel Ronterloo, go right ahead. I'm walking into this place to get a coffee, guys, so I might be a minute or two delayed. Just go do your thing. I'll pop in when I get back. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I need to change my name. It's so hard to say. But sort of to Janet's point, like I think we just need to support the youth and make sure that we are trying to make sure that these kids aren't being radicalized. And the scary part is it's a lot of professors, when you see how they respond to different things that are happening in society, is so radical and so political. And so that's what they're teaching our kids. So how, like, I feel like it has to start at the universities, the colleges, and then media as well. Like media needs to, I don't know if I'm just biased, but it just seems like the left always either tells half a truth and doesn't, or straight out just lies to fit the narrative that they want. And that's what we have to get away from. Like the truth has to be spoken, not what we think that we want to hear. I don't know. I'm not saying anything anybody in this room doesn't know. I just like, how do we change this from happening? It's like, Janet, it's great work that you do. I love that you're out there trying to help like the youth to not like kind of drop into, like in the case of what you were talking about, like pedophiles and different things. I actually had a discussion with my stepson about that, about roadblocks. And he was like, no, there's no rooms like that. I'm like, there is. I think a lot of like the younger kids think that they know more than adults, and that we somehow, just because we're older, we don't live in the same sort of social media world that they do. So there's just so many things that I think, like someone was saying earlier, that we as individuals can do to help too, because government starts local. Everything starts where you live. So I don't know, like Turning Point was great because it was going across the world, and it will continue to do that. And I imagine it'll even grow, which is good because there has to be common sense brought into society. And then two, for like other, like on the left too, like they should start having groups, but not like crazy radical groups, but groups where people can talk openly about how they feel and not feel ostracized or judged or demeaned in any way. So that's the sad part about Charlie dying, is because that's exactly what he was doing, and he's a hero, and it makes me want to cry. And thank you for letting me talk.
You're welcome. Thank you, Rachel, for sharing. I do agree with your points about the young kids for sure. We all got to monitor our kids' social media and video gaming like that. That's mandatory. I don't often tell parents how to parent, but I mean that's just common sense. That's not me getting involved in your life. I mean, I can tell you guys, as a, many of you have shared this with. I've taken on a strength and conditioning coach job of my son's football team, and I've got to tell you, it's opened. I've not coached football. It's been mostly baseball and softball. This is my first time doing football. I can tell you, I see now behind the curtain with how some teenage boys are being raised. There's half the team are one-parent homes because it's a travel team, and a lot of these kids come from the few urban cities we have in New Hampshire, and they're what we would call underprivileged, and they've gotten scholarships to Catholic high school and what have you. So they're I'm coaching a lot of boys who their high schools do not have football because they're small parochial schools. Long story short, I've got to tell you, I've been very spoiled in my life where I haven't dealt with a lot of parents of my children who are single parent homes, divorced or whatever, estranged, and it's really opened my eyes that these 13, 14, 15-year-old boys are a lot. I'm assuming a lot of stuff in child rearing. It was so wrong to do that, and I just see a lot of boys that need mentorship, and all they want to tell me about is the video games they play, the fucking just not how was school today, how does your ankle feel from yesterday's practice. The first thing they come up to me and they say, Coach, you're not going to believe what happened in Grand Theft Auto. I blew up a liquor store. I'm like, what the I don't say it like this, but I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about? I'm not a gamer. Like, I never was. I had Nintendo when I was a kid. And I left the video games at home in college and never went back. They're, in my opinion, a useless waste of time for anybody. But that's what they want to tell me. Not about the game we have on Sunday against a very established team. Not about the new defensive alignment that we have. Not about the ankle that they're nursing along, icing it half the practice, being able to be on the field for 20 minutes at a time. No, they want to tell me what they did in video games. And I hate to say it, guys. It's I know the parents. I have to go to meetings with them. It's fatherless players or their father's not in the picture, that it's like their father figure is some character on a video game. It's fucking sad. And it's only strengthened my resolve to be more available for these boys, even though they don't go to school with my kid. That, I said, hey, you're welcome at our house anytime. You want to hang out with you guys want to hang out after the season? Have exchange numbers, have at it, because they need it, guys. They need to. They need both. I'm a big proponent in a mom and a dad. And I know not every family can shake out like that. I understand that not everybody's that lucky or blessed to have that situation, but there is a deficit in how they act because they don't have a father figure, even a shitty father figure. And it's really opened my eyes, and I'm the antithesis of naive. And it's really opened my eyes dealing with some of these kind of underprivileged young men, what they're missing in life. And it's a huge gap in their upbringing. And the video games, the social media I had to take one kid's phone away because he was making a TikTok video while he was hitting pads last night. I don't know how that slipped the eyes of everybody else, but it happened. Like, it's not good. And I'm in a rural area, guys. I can't even imagine what it's like in the cities. So, anybody else want to grab a mic? We've got 26 minutes to get good conversation in here. Okay. So let's recap. The governor of Utah had, from day one, has reiterated to the masses that his state, the Mormon state of Utah, for those of you who aren't from the U.S. in here, you must know that Utah is basically the home of the Mormon faith in the United States of America. Salt Lake City is the hub of Mormonism on planet Earth. So, Searchlight, Nevada, number 2. But so this is a Mormon state, very conservative state, known for skiing, beautiful mountains. Brigham Young University, Utah, and Utah State. So college sports. It's Mormon Republicans are a little bit different than Republicans from the rest of the country. They are the closest thing we have to kind of religious ideologues being elected to our Congress. They're a different breed out there, but one thing that Utah is known for is they're basically like my state up north, a sanctuary Second Amendment state, and also they have the death penalty. Not all of the 50 states have capital punishment. So we've talked about that a bit earlier. So that's interesting. We'll see. He's Governor Cox has not been shy as a member of the Mormon faith that he will cooperate with the feds in regards to the death penalty for the possible, Tyler Robinson. Now, a couple of things people shared with me in DMs. You know who you are. Thank you. Tyler Robinson's father is a retired LEO, evidently. Well, that his son could be facing his death if he is proven to be the assassin that killed Charlie Kirk. So with that, Janet, co-host, you get to go. Then Dr. Ben will go after you. Janet, do you want to pop in? I see your hands up.
I can't. Can you hear me?
Janet, are you there? No?
Janet, can you hear Gads?
We'll go to Dr. Seuss. What's up, Ben? Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Just saw that one. It's
Damn it. Got disconnected.
happened in China when Mao radicalized all the young students. They all became monsters. They beat people alive to death. And it's hard to believe. Like my dad told me, when his classmates come to our home, destroyed everything. Because Mao said we're the bad people. And they can do that. They were your classmates yesterday, and today they can come to destroy your family, destroy the home, a few things just in that very poor family. And that's what they did to our young people over here. Exactly copy what Mao did. And first they want to peel parents' rights away. They think the kids belong to the government. The teachers can do everything to your kids. You lost the influence. The media, the institution, everything. Parents don't really have much influence to their kids anymore. And that's, I don't know how you're going to encounter all those craziness. You just have to do your best as a daddy. because boys, they need to Eddie really teach you, guide you. Things can go very wrong. And soon you're going to be a young man, 20-ish, and you be independent in that critical of that a few years. If you don't have a strong dad can get you, it really can go very wrong. And I just encourage every single daddy, talk to your sons, hug them. I don't know, try your best to influence them and make sure you do not want the government to put everything on your kids. The school system is full of lunatics, and I'm surrounded by full lunatics around, and I know that. And a lot of time in your neighborhood, you may not feel that, but damn, if you are in an environment like what I am working at, it's full of lunatics. They may look like okay daily life, but political parts, they are so lunatic. And a lot I just have a conversation with people here around. I don't see any of them feel sad. Charlie is died. It's like I was like, gosh, you guys are professors, teachers, educators, and you even don't have a basic humanity. How the heck I can feel confident to let you educate my kids? And that's just like a break the bottom line. I don't know what the heck is bottom line. I don't feel there's a bottom line for them. And we're just repeating mouse channel. And that's what, from my eye, to experience what happened over here, that's just a deja vu for me. And I hope every daddy step up, and your son is your precious something in the future. Do your job. Thank you.
Ben, thank you. And that's as somebody you work in education, I could tell you probably see that a lot. And I like his points about, I made the inarticulate point about, just being an assistant football coach on a team where half the players, don't even know who their father is. And it's been, like I said, a tremendous eye opener for me as somebody who lives in a box, I guess, a wholesome life. I don't know what to tell you. And then what Ben was saying about, you have to be involved, parents, in your kid's life. This is obvious. I might be insulting your intelligence by telling you this, but I can tell you, the little things go a long way. Be active in your kid's life, especially if they're under 18. Their pliability is limited, and it looks like this suspect, his father. By the way, his father was 27-year vet of the sheriff's department. Okay. Knowing that there's more than a 50-50 chance that if his son's proven guilty, he'll be executed. And I think he will, friends, because you've got the power of the White House behind, and the state of Utah in pursuing these charges. So can't be easy, even if his son is a psychopathic scumbag that assassinated somebody. Don't pray for that kid's soul, but pray for that dad, because Mr. Robinson has to go on living his life, and it's not going to be a pleasant one. He's already going to feel failure as a parent. That's like a death sentence. Trust me. He'll be alive in this world. He'll be breathing, but he won't be living, if you know what I'm saying. So, and that fucking sucks. Gemini, thanks for popping up. Bob, I saw your hand up, I think, and then we'll go to whomever else after.
Yeah, thanks, Gads. All I can think of, I feel so bad for this father that had to do that. I'm grateful that he did, but this is the only thing that comes to my mind. Was this kid radicalized in school? Because having a father and a role model like that, I'm sure a 27-year veteran of law enforcement, his father was busy. My father was very busy. He worked two jobs, a full-time and a part-time job growing up. but the time I did spend with him was very valuable. So I'm leaning towards this kid was radicalized in school and university, Gads. That's the only thing I can think of, because it seems like he came from a good family. He had a good father, a good role model. You would think that he would want to follow his father's footsteps. I'm sure his father shared stories of criminals that he arrested during his career, how he worked to keep society, safe from criminals. Why on earth would a kid like this do this? I can only conclude that he was radicalized through his education system in elementary, junior high, high school, and university. I'll land it there.
In social media, which is kind of part of the university system, Bob, at least in the U.S. I mean, I feel that that's a lot of it. But yeah, probably so. I mean, just based on the remedial facts we have in front of us, I absolutely think that you're on the right track there. And same thing, my dad had 2 jobs. He ran a plumbing company, and he was in the Army all through the 80s and 90s, my whole time growing up. And not only did I not see him for 6 months at a clip on deployments, he was too busy running his own business to, he wasn't a plumber that came home and put his feet up at 4 o'clock. He had 3 guys working for him. There was a housing boom in the 80s in southern New Hampshire. He was constant. He would always show up in like the 4th inning of my games, but he would show up even on Saturdays, the Saturday morning games. He'd be out, fixing old ladies' faucets first thing in the morning. And then even if he saw the last inning, my last at bat, or the end of the basketball game, he would show up. And I never forgot that. And I promised myself when I got married that when I became a parent, I was going to do the same thing as just like my dad, self-employed guy, constantly on the go. I would do the same thing and do the best I could. You have to be there for your kids, guys. I mean, by all accounts, this Mr. Robinson guy I got to tell you too, because the Utah, I'm obsessing about Utah, guys, because it's the Mormon jokes all aside, it's not known for producing like ghetto ass people. First of all, the cost of living there is very high, especially in Salt Lake. It's not cheap to go there. It's not a high crime state, even though the cities have gotten a little bit more purple and a little bigger over the last 20. It's a lot of people have a second home there. They have like a ski chalet there. So that's got a lot to do with it. It's not the primary residence for a lot of people that are there during the winter for skiing and snowboarding. And it's got a lot of college kids there. But other than that, Utah it should not be on your bingo card as being a state of like radicalized Mormons. It's just it's never been that way. The cities aren't set up like that. It's not like the rest of the country. Beautiful state. By the way, if you ever have the privilege of being at the Salt Lake City airport for a sunrise, as I have on a connecting flight to California once, it's unbelievable. In some of those terminals there, the vantage point you get of the sunrise, if you have a red-eye flight and you land and you see the sunrise on the mountains of Salt Lake City at that airport, it's next level, friends. All right, guys, I talk too much. I'm going to ask you to be brief, okay, so we can get through all the hands. I'm going to start with Ben, and then we'll go through the order.
Hey there, Coach Carter. Hey, everyone else. I know that there's a lot of crazy people out there, but seeing everyone replying to everything, like how they're happy about this, it's kind of shocking. I mean, I know that there's crazy people, but I just, the people that are doctors and serving in the military and they're first responders and college professors and, just across the board professionals that are, openly just like happy about this. It's one thing to, maybe you're not upset, but you kind of keep it to yourself, I guess. It's another to make a fucking TikTok video about it where you're dancing around like an idiot. and we're supposed to like coexist with these people. I just don't understand. It's I don't know. We're kind of in a bad place, but I really feel like we need to go after or hold accountable, just the media and all the politicians that propagandize all these people, because it's like you don't just get that way on accident, right? Like with Chuck Schumer talking about the whole Kavanaugh thing, reaping the whirlwind, and then some guy goes and wants to assassinate him, and then we're going to prosecute him for this, and then the DOJ says not to do that, a couple of days before the statute of limitations expires. I don't feel like that's how we effectively get people to stop doing this, because it's just you have a whole generation of complete psychopaths that have no regard for human life. I can't stand. I absolutely despise Joe Biden. I think he's probably one of the lowest forms of humanity on this planet. But I don't want him to have something like this happen to him. I just don't. I don't know. It's just we're just in a kind of a bad place. It's pretty upsetting. And I just, the guy absolutely has to have the death penalty, because if he doesn't, it just, sends another message. Yeah, you could just do this and you just go to a psych prison or, prison. Yeah, he absolutely has that death penalty. So but who propagandized and brainwashed this kid? It's just, you don't just get like this on accident. So I don't know, but good for you, Coach Carter.
100. I agree with all that, man. Yep. It's guys, the capital punishment's inevitable here. Like I said, this is the turning point. No pun intended. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. But this is it. It's one thing that it's not about turning the other cheek, guys. This is about righteousness right now. And, this kid's going to confess to it, and he's going to die at the hands of the state. And how crazy can he be? He obviously was crazy enough not to fear capital punishment. So, but think about it. What use is he going to have to society going forward? Zero. So, all right. Sigrun, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on something that you were saying earlier, which was to not, and I think it's what we have to do is we have to be firm. We have to stand for our convictions. We have to speak out. Because when you look back, like the last 20 years, we've slowly all been conditioned through political correctness to just not speak our mind, right? And I found it shocking how many people, like especially Facebook, because that's a leftist sort of sanctuary, how many people are fine with saying they're happy somebody was murdered, like in cold blood? I just don't get it. I find it kind of shocking, the evil. And that's what it is. It's evil. Like, you might not agree with somebody, you might not like somebody, but anybody that doesn't have compassion for seeing a young man in the prime of his life with two small children and a wife that loves him shot like a dog and executed, there's something seriously wrong. And it just shows the level of indoctrination. And I feel like we're being rage baited into doing things that they would do. And we can't allow ourselves to go there. We have to just speak our minds, be firm, dole out punishment if it's necessary, if it's proved that this is the guy. But we can't allow ourselves to get down in the gutter with the left either. Yep. It's a battle of good and evil, and we can't allow ourselves to become evil.
No, ma'am, and I agree with that. That's kind of what I was saying earlier. Like, that's why I'm all for the capital punishment, but I don't want people falling into the trap that, we got to go on offense. The bullets are coming in one direction, left to right, but we have a situation where the planning was not all there, because he did this in the very conservative state of Utah, again, a state that has the death penalty. So, and being the son of a sheriff's deputy, you can guarantee he knew that, even in that moment that he supposedly pulled the trigger to, take Charlie out. So my sympathy is quite limited. And if you're willing to do that in cold blood, I'm not exactly sure how useful you are to this planet going forward. So I don't think the taxpayers of Utah should be saddled with the kid's 22. He's going to live 60 more years. Even in a maximum security prison, he's not going to get shanked in the shower. Just like that Tsarnaev piece of shit from the surviving brother. He was about 20 when they planted those bombs, and he's in a max security in Colorado for the rest of his miserable existence, because Massachusetts they didn't seek the death penalty in 2013, being the fools that they are in that left-wing shithole of a state. This is different, though. 100% different. This is a miscalculation. He didn't think he was going to get caught, is my take.
Could be.
Unless he's suicidal. Thank you, Sig. Get it. We'll keep moving. I'll try and get you all in. You got to be quick. Patrick, go ahead.
Hey, so there was one thing that stood out to me when I was reading the transcript of the details of this. So he had written on the bullets, "See you in Valia." And so I looked that up, and it sounds like it's related to more like a communist socialist type, ideology in it. And as Grok went through this to kind of pick it apart, it suggested that it's like more of a very niche community of people, very small offshoots of communists, socialists, Marxists, anarchists, and so my guess is he's reclusive, right? That's what I'm guessing. And that these online communities, well, he may not be, but the online communities, the online kind of memes and propaganda that circulates in there, the guy probably read all these, books that talk about these utopian places that, Nordic warriors.
Did the bullets say "see you in Valhalla"?
Valhalla, that's what it was.
Okay, that's basically heaven for pagan Vikings.
Right. Right.
Okay, just to keep. So that's what Kash Patel said. Military uses it a lot when they lose a fallen brother on the battlefield. They'll often say "see you in Valhalla" because it's a warrior ethos, even though the connotation is Vikings, and it's actually quite negative. It's like where Thor and Loki are in Viking heaven. But yeah, just finish up, Patrick. So I can keep
So
going.
he said, that Grok was just saying that it's likely related to those groups, and so we could summarize that, especially these younger guys. I forget how old they said the guy was, but all of these, kind of, some kids are into the video games, some kids are into the Roblox, people as they've aged, right? They're doing all these different things. And I suspect that he just delved into this stuff and it consumed him. So, we can blame society, we can blame tech, we can blame any one of these things, but that's where his sphere of influence, I think, led to this, and not knowing how to communicate with people is a big issue. Now, one could argue that, we'll find out whether this guy's on the spectrum like some of the others were, right? But if they're on the spectrum, their communication skills are limited, so they're going to gravitate towards this stuff, right? And maybe that's where we start to look at this, is that, that kind of drives people into these. I mean, obviously it's available. This information wasn't readily accessible 25 years ago, right? So I know we're all looking for answers and how we land here with all these people that are really causing most of the trouble. But I don't know. That's just my quick. I was still looking at Grok when you brought me to the mic, so to try and pick this apart.
No worries. That's good information. And I would say to everybody too, please don't let this be lost on you. Charlie Kirk was personally known to Kash Patel, J.D. Vance, Don Jr., and of course the president himself. They were all actively together on the campaign. They're men of somewhat similar age. This is personal. And you could say you can't, for Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, this is personal. Okay, now you can't say, well, that shouldn't get in the way. Well, guys, it's not relevant. the decision has been made. The capital punishment will be pursued. If Tyler Robinson's found guilty, he's a dead man walking. It's just, you know, don't overcomplicate things. And it's a necessary act. This guy is not going to get off. He's not going to appeal this thing. You're going to have a lot of, I don't think it's going to be an issue because evidently Governor Cox is going to completely comply. It does, by the way, I don't know what his motivations are. I don't know much about the Utah GOP. I'm not a big fan of Mormon politicians because they're kind of theocrats. We just give them a free pass because they're all Republican. But they are you know, we talk about Ilhan Omar being an Islamist theocrat, and the Mormons are theocrats in their own way too. They're the antithesis of Islam, but they get, long story for another day. But anyway, I don't know what Spencer Cox's motivations are. They should be just about pursuing justice. I don't know him well enough to know if he's a rhino or whatever. But it does not look good on his state that the most high-profile conservative voice in the world was assassinated in his state at one of his state universities. So he's not going to buck because that does not look good on him if he wants to get reelected.
Gads, he said something in the presser. I'll make it brief. His statement was that he had prayed that it was not one of their own, that it was foreign or somebody from out of state, which I thought was an odd thing to say. That he wished it wasn't within their community, right? I mean, to feel that, but to say it, publicly, that was just strange. And so I kind of see where you're coming from on that.
Just a thought: has the president of the university spoken out about this?
No,
any statements?
Haven't seen anything, Bella, on that. Has anybody about what was the name of the university again? Something State. I can't remember.
Not Utah Valley.
Utah Valley State. So it's a state affiliated college, so it gets state funding from Salt Lake City. So I mean, this is a quite the tangled web for the Mormons down there. They've got massive PR cleanup. It absolutely shows the weakness of their campus security. So Governor Cox is not going to get in the way of the FBI wanting to execute this kid. And given the surname Robinson is not a Mormon one, so he might not be a member of their community. You guys might think I'm bringing that up too much, but you have to look at the Mormon community, even though they don't act like the Amish do or Mennonites do. They're more, their electricity and all that, blah, blah, blah. They're in politics, they're in government, they serve in the military. They are in that group. They are, because they're elected members of Congress and they have iPhones and shit like that. They are in a class very similar to the at least in the United States as the Amish. Mormons didn't have to go to Vietnam if they were on their Mormon mission, like Mitt Romney, aka draft dodging. Mitt Romney's father, George Romney, who was the governor of Michigan, weaseled his way out of World War II because he was doing a Mormon mission in the Philippines, I think. I don't know, but they are in that protected class. So that's why it's relevant, because they don't have funny hats and beards and go on horse-drawn carriages. They are a protected religious sect in the United States, which is why, just like the Amish are all in Pennsylvania for the most part, the Mormons all tend to be from Utah and a couple counties in Nevada. They're not really, there aren't Mormons in fucking Florida and Mississippi and Maine.
Gads, the tone, because I was listening to the remainder of the press conference, his tone was very in that realm of preacher. The impression he was giving, on the press conference. Obviously, I don't know the guy. I don't live out there. I have no concept of it, but it did kind of fit in line with that. Now, although it felt comforting in the words and the way that he presented it, right? It's going to fall on deaf ears because it's not a strong. It's a very soft religious kind of message that he was sending in terms of peace and trying to find, to turn the page here as the country moves forward. But it was not. It was soft, not super inspiring, and I would guess that it does not resonate with people certainly on the East Coast in terms of how we conduct ourselves, right? And just kind of social circles and how people interpret it. It was useful at the time, but I don't think it's going to have really any effect on the big picture here. Surprised they have the death penalty out there, given what you've explained.
Yeah, yep. And they, I mean, they don't have the volume of capital punishment like Texas does, but I mean, it's still viable there, and they still have death by firing squad. So that was established a long time ago, because a lot of states still have capital punishment, but it's lethal injection or the electric chair. I think Texas, they default to the electric chair. So, yep, not good planning. So, guys, I think I'm going to have to leave it here because I'm being beckoned. I need to strike a blow, and I want to thank all of you. I'm sorry I couldn't get to the speakers. I appreciate you all. Bella, Gemini, Janet, thank you for co-hosting. I hope you got a lot out of this space. Patrick, thanks for doing the audio, and we'll continue. Send me the juicy spaces that are following this story. So Tyler Robinson, suspect in custody. Utah has the death penalty. So something to think about as this unfolds. You guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend if I don't talk to you. All right? Let me know what you thought of the space. I appreciate the feedback. Take care, everybody. Thanks, ladies.
Hello.
What the hell, sister? That guy does not look like the...
You wear nice clothes, people think you're showing off. If you wear simple clothes, people think you're poor. If you speak your mind, you're rude. If you stay quiet, then you're a coward. If you're successful, then you're arrogant. And if you're struggling, then you're lazy. You see, no matter what you do in life, people will always have something to say. So ignore people and their opinions. Because so long as your God is pleased with you, who cares what people think?
He knows that this is much bigger than him. This is about the American people. They have no idea what they have unleashed. He was ready to go face the cameras and come out swinging.
What will future Americans say we did in our brief time here on Earth? It will be defined by your vision, your perseverance, and your grit. Nothing will sway us, nothing will slow us, and no one will ever stop us. We are Americans. Ambition is our heritage. Greatness is our birthright. And the future belongs to us.